Welcome to Basketbros. I am Denzel Snipes. No, not really. I'm better looking. Anyway, I am Jacob Christner. I am the pundit's pundit. Anyway, what we have, and I looks like I'm obviously orange. Who knows? Anyway, I wish my skin was that way. Anyway, we're on tonight right here, and I'm going to be kind of leading the way for this right here. We got some great topics going on, and I'm going to introduce everybody right here. We have got first off from Michigan himself, the Motor City Mad Mouth Scott Morganroth.
Yeah, from Michigan, now in Florida. So yes, the Motor City Mad Mouth is it. Good to see you again.
Hey, what's going on, my man? So you're writing a book, huh?
Yeah, I'm adjusting the new media, so I'm working on hoping getting it done about 2, 3, 4 weeks. I'm really putting a lot of time in, so it's something I'm really looking forward to doing, and I'll give more details as I get closer to doing it. We're going to do an audio book with it eventually, print as well. So it's something I've been wanting to write a book for many, many years, and now there's no better time than the present to do it, since I have my partner, Dr. Edwin Hernandez, sponsoring it, who's going to market it and do what we need to do. In fact, I'm not writing one, but I'm going to write 2, including a textbook for a class that I'll be teaching over at this particular place in the Media Studios, which I'm a president of. So
awesome.
Really excited about it.
And let's see, Charlotte, North Carolina, by way of everywhere you could ever say whatsoever, Will Vogel. What's going on? I see you got a good haircut tonight. or at least combed. Hello?
I don't. Oh,
no,
no, I just got out of the shower and this is how I comb it.
Understood that. So how's your evening tonight?
It's all right. I went to a wedding last night. It was fun. It was our family friends who we've known for years. It's my sister's best friend. So it was in Atlanta. It was good. Little sad that it's over. I have to go back to reality, but you know what? In a month I'm going to New York and then I'm gonna go to a Yankee game, so I can't be too upset.
Hey, welcome to life. Everything ends when we go, you know? Is that the truth, exactly. Scott? You there, Scott?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't catch you. I didn't know if you were talking.
I was saying, yeah, welcome to life.
Hey, I get you, man. I'll tell you what, it's been a whirlwind all week. I'm glad to be back on this show. I've been off a couple of weeks because of obviously interesting circumstances, but tonight I'm glad to be back. Very tiring Maryland game. And next weekend, I have the Detroit Tigers coming to South Florida. So for a 3-game set. Yeah, well, I'll see whether I get 2 or 3. Whatever days I'm working there, fine. Whatever days I'm not, I'll be working on my books. I'll be busy either way, no matter.
See if you can get George Vicorden to come over there and just have it hang out with you.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, but it'll be a pretty interesting weekend next week because Miguel Cabrera's weekend, and everybody knows he started with the Marlins and won a title here. So
yeah,
expect her. I'll be curious to see what the crowds are over the course of the weekend. This may be one of their bigger crowds over the weekend, but I never could tell what's going to actually happen down there.
Didn't Miggy hit a home run off Clemens?
I don't know.
In the World Series?
Don't remind me.
Yeah. No, that's the big thing. At 20 years old, can you believe he's 40 now?
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's true. That's true. No, I don't know. I often wonder where time is going anyway. So,
and that's the truth. Hey, what's up, Ken? How's it going tonight?
How's it going, Mr. Ballrick?
My conditions are in great shape. I don't know what yours are. Otherwise, your name is Ballreich. I don't know. Is it Ballich? Is it? However, either way. So I am the hype machine for tonight. Our other hype machine, I'm not sure. Maybe he's taking a nap or whatever, but I'm going to work it as I can go. Anyway, we are working toward about 4 really good topics. So let's get started with the first one right off the bat. Yes. See, I wanted to do this because we've gone through all of our legends. We've gone through our legends and our pros. And then we kind of went to one last week, which really isn't a really good player, but not really a legend. So I thought we'd get Bob Knight is a legend. Main thing about this is we can say this. 3 different teams, Army, University of Indiana, and Texas Tech, 902 wins, 3 national titles. Everything. I think to this day, still the only undefeated season. The only undefeated season, start to finish. Kentucky tried it a few years ago, about 6 to 8 years ago.
Well,
They tried it and they lost.
I thought UCLA had some undefeated seasons.
I
Jacob.
swear UCLA.
No, the last, but I'm talking about the last.
Oh, the last one. Yeah, I think you're right there.
Because he went to. No, it's like from the current NCAA's. It's like, gotta remember, he retired in '74.
Okay, no, I'm glad that you made clarity on that, because don't forget, John Wooden had a lot of them. So
I think it was what they were talking about is the current, and because he had 32 from the 64 state on the 64.
Yeah, don't remind me that they beat the Michigan Wolverines in the finals that year. So, it was tough. But you know what? There was no question in that particular game. Indiana was a far better team. They had a lot of great players for sure.
I will tell you this. Indiana had Indiana monsters, just monster teams. It's like, you got to think about the career of Quinn Buckner. Yeah. Two state titles in Dalton Thornridge. The two state titles in Dalton Thornridge, and I think two national titles with Indiana.
Right.
I mean, and just think about the kind of career he had, and yet this is telling you how the NBA is. He was a role player in the NBA.
Well, Kent Benson was a heck of a player on that team too, and then he won another title later on with Isaiah Thomas. So Bob Knight is a guy that I don't know whether I could play under him or not. I love Tough Love, but I read his book Season on the Brink, and that's a good book though. It really is. Talks about the man's character, but Kent Benson was big on that team. Scott May was a big on that team. Quinn Buckner, and Bob Knight had some good players, but he got him to play team basketball. That was the whole key to what he did. He had that.
See, he had that. We're going to talk about this with high school a little bit later on today. But he had that ball press, and you got to remember, he also had he won with a lot of 50-point games, a lot of ball movement, get underneath, find the best shot, slow down the game, and it's like you got to remember though I think this is one of those where Bob Knight wishes he didn't have a shot clock, because he would have loved to have moved it around for the right shot.
Well, he runs a motion offense is what he does. So a lot of a motion offense is predicated on passing the basketball, trying to find the open shot. Nowadays, this game is so awful where everybody's shooting for a long way away. But Bob Knight could never tolerate this era of basketball because it's bad.
Well, the one thing about his attitude is the fact that I think a lot of the anger has made him where it is right now. He can barely move. His health is so bad now, he can barely move. It's like that could be a lot of his health issues. It's just the fact that he had so much anger all those years.
Well, maybe he did, but I'll tell you one thing. He had a lot of graduation players that graduated. They would not get their number up there unless they were graduated. So a lot of guys came back to get their degrees there. So his incredible record towards developing not only players, but smart athletes, was impeccable.
And what do you think, Will, as far as having this one, as far as Bob Knight?
Well, talk about a guy who's done a lot for the game of basketball. He's the only coach to win an NCAA, an NIT, a gold medal, and a Pan American gold medal. Only coach to do all of that. He is one of three, along with Dean Smith and Joe Hall, to play and coach in a NCAA tournament final. One of three.
Right.
Bob, he played with Jerry Lucas and John Havlicek at Ohio State. Both went on to play in the NBA and have good Hall of Fame careers. He coached Coach K, as we know, at Army, and Coach K would later become his assistant, and then he would later, as we know, go to Duke University and become a legend. At Indiana, he had 22 seasons of 20 or more wins. Talk about outstanding. After his coaching career, he coached. He was a color commentator, and hear this. In the middle of his career, the three-point shot was introduced, and he was opposed. Like you said, Jacob, I bet he wishes there was no shot clock, because then he could just keep passing until the shot was open. Oh, imagine if there was no three-point shot. Oh, he would have been so happy.
Yeah, and absolutely, be in heaven. But the thing I think about with him is, by itself, how much he didn't like the three-point. Imagine the four-pointer that could happen one day. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because everybody's 35, everybody's shooting from 35 feet now. And I think about, and I guess I'm going to bring it up with one of our next topics a little bit. But just imagine now, I mean, the ball press that you used to have, how little that matters anymore, because people can shoot from so far away now. It's like, and I'm talking about everybody from the first guy to the 12th. Everybody, the 7'3" center can. Everybody can. It's like the ball press was to try to keep from going underneath. It doesn't matter anymore. And
you know what's? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You know what? Also, I think made him mad is he was a star in high school playing basketball. He didn't even play much in college. He sat on the bench. I think he got a minute in the national championship game when he won at Ohio State, and I think his coach was quoting saying, "Chill out there. Don't make any mistakes." And I think he had like a turnover or something. So yeah, talk about a guy who's kind of heated.
Well, and the thing is, you could see that happen. You could truly see that happen because someone like him was already hyped up. So then he'd want to be able to make the best of his 1 minute, which is by itself. But here's the one thing that I do like. Here's the one thing. He didn't go to the NBA. He didn't do all that stuff. Because of all of this, I believe he got these kids into education because he wanted them. Because of his experiences, I think he got them into the education. Make sure they get. He had a lot of lawyers, a lot of doctors, a lot of different people played on his teams.
Yeah, of course, Jacob. The guy had a lot of smart players. I mean, that's what Bob Knight was about. He had a couple things. One, they graduated, right? Two, they became men. You can't ask for a whole lot, and he won championships with those players.
90%, like 97% graduation rate.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. And the more important thing is he ran a clean program everywhere he went. You have obviously Indiana, and you all talked about Texas Tech. So wherever he went, he had a clean program. So, all these guys are, they don't run clean programs. But Bob Knight, nobody will ever accuse him of not even doing that. So,
well, the guy coached so many great players.
I believe so. I absolutely believe so.
I would believe that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And especially now with these players, especially with these players leaving after 1 year, it's either way.
Yeah, let's not forget college athletics. As much as we have all the name, image, and likeness and all this other stuff, the main thing is you want to get your degree and earn your scholarship. Now, I will say, because I know this probably will be a different topic for another night. Coaches aren't loyal to players, and players aren't loyal to coaches anymore because of the extra movement that they have around. So I guess everybody would wonder right now is if Bob Knight were there, how many players would he ever have in NIL? And the transfer portal. And I think you probably have a lot more because they can't handle tough love, these kids.
Well, no, I know. Well, see, like I was bringing up before on Pundit one night, I said this. I brought this part up. It's like, this is one of our first eras where we not only did we can say air conditioning all we want to. That was from an era before that. But not only that, but they literally lived off of like streaming television, streaming television, phones, right off the bat, any of that kind of stuff. And even if they didn't live off it right off the bat, they had a flip phone. Everything has been in the comfort level for them.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, that has been that. And it's like, so we can't, truthfully, there are some athletes that need a Bob Knight's thing, but it's not going to happen anymore just because. It's like, when the parents have completely and utterly comforted them and sheltered them from the get-go, how are they going to take a night? Because remember, their parents went the hell over the half acre on them, and then they send them to night.
Right.
Remember, these were a lot of these kids that took a lot of Bob Knight's quote unquote, if we could say abuse or not, depending on the person. A lot of them was taking it from their parents too, maybe their grandparents.
See, and then right, they're tough early, and they were tougher when he got done with them. Why do you think they called him a general? Come on, really? I mean, he's a general.
Is it just me? How funny is it that Isaiah Thomas went from a guy like a general and Bob Knight being a crazy, tough coach to later getting Chuck Daly, another hard, tough general like coach. I think it's awesome, personally.
Isaiah would be, but see, that's the thing. It's like that era. You got to remember, Isaiah came from Chicago. He came from tough times in Chicago, and then you get stuff. It's like everything is tough. Everything's tough. You've lived it. It doesn't matter if they're screaming at you. Because you have your own motivation. You have your own. You're tougher on yourself anyway than Knight could ever be. So those types, you know what I'm saying? And hey, what's up, Rockman?
Exactly.
What's up? Yeah. So no, I was going to say that. So let's get to our next topic. We're going to do this. Well, high school basketball, guys. High school, but don't worry about it. High school. Let's see, impact of the film Hoosiers, high school basketball. The reason I brought this up, and I wanted to bring this, I was telling this to Will earlier, is the fact how high school basketball, it's like you got to remember the whole point of Hoosiers is you have this small basketball team in the middle of Indiana. They're the smallest time. They have like 94 students. And then all of a sudden they play in the state title game against the big powerhouse 2000 team with about 15,000 people watching them. And that's their thing. And that was the thing. It's like there used to be this little team had a chance. Hebron in Illinois did it Quincy on them. Did it to Quincy in 54. Hebron, little 98 students did it to Quincy, who had 1,700 students. I mean, they did that in 1954 in overtime. I mean, Indiana had their own team, which is what made the movie in the first place. I forget who. I think it's Milan. I think it's Milan. Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to the Hoosiers gym before?
I have not.
I have. It's a great place. It really is. And if there's anybody that's a bigger Hoosiers junkie than I am, let me know, because I only watched the movie a million times, and
I'm up there with you. And I definitely recommend Will. It's such an amazing movie.
I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah. Oh, but the point I brought up with this is we had the little bitty team versus the big monster teams. Now you've got class basketball. So every little class has a chance. Maybe it's because of money. Maybe it's because of everything. But really, here's my question. I'll ask you, Scott, first.
Sure.
You think that these little teams with little schools in 2023 would have, with the way that the basketball is now, with the shooting, with everything, the way the athletes are, do you think a little team would have a chance in 2023? The little small-time teams of a different class have a chance against a big team like in the older days?
Oh, I really do. I think the coaching as well, the game has changed. And we always saw what we looked like in the NCAA tournament. Little FAU came out of nowhere and knocked off one big giant after another. So FAU in my backyard is a good example of that. If you have good coaching and I mean, good coaching is very, very paramount is really what it is. Yeah, I don't think there's any question that the little guy will, you don't have to have 5-star recruits. You have to have good fluidity when you're on the floor with 4 or 5 guys that believe in the same thing. I would rather have 5 strong players instead of 1 or 2 superstars. And that's what I've always believed in. And that's really what you have, guys that'll step up on any given day. And I think Florida Atlantic this year, through their Final Four run, proved that you had a good coach with a lot of veterans. Well, I don't think there's any question about it. I really don't.
Now, here's the question now. In those times, we're talking about 79, 80, 81, 85, whatever, in those eras. You think, okay, we can say the 60s even. I brought that up this past week. You think it usually have what you call the motion offense versus the ball press.
Right.
You think the regular ball press works now with these players the way that he can shoot?
I don't think there's any question about it. Any offenses will work well if it's coached properly. For example, let's take Phil Jackson's a triangle offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's coached properly and you have the right talent, I no question about it. So whether it's motion, triangle, or whatever, all comes down to coaching and the ability for the players to execute what you put in front of them. It's not like these guys go there and just play games off the bat. They're training for a couple of weeks before you put them out there. And the way everything is all set up where you go out there and play a lot of as Dick Vitale would say, cupcakes or easier opponents to get the Kinks out. Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it.
Oh, no, I just meant the ball and the defense wise, and you're right on the offense. But what do you think, before I go to Will, what do you think of the ball press on the defense? You know, it was 2 to 3 guys, and they all basically were in a zone. You think now, because remember, that was the ability to keep you from going under the basket, but everybody's shooting so far out. Do you think there's the point of the ball? Now, ball press is still played here and there. There was a game that I saw that was a couple of years ago, it was 33 to 31 in a state game. But the next game they got beat by 15. So I mean, there's that. But I mean, do you think it could be? Do you think it's still regular for ball press defense, or you think they need to do more?
No, I think it could be regular. I mean, remember Rick Pitino ran that scheme very, very well. If you're pressing and you're forcing them into turnovers, I think that's really what it comes down from the defensive standpoint.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask you this, Will. The reason I was bringing this, the reason I brought up the Hoosiers is the idea of, I mean, mind you, you've seen high school ball, correct? Mm-hmm. Watched plenty of high school ball and everything. You think the idea of the small-time team getting a chance at the big-time team would stand much of a chance? Like these small teams are like 100 people in the school? Or like 100 people in the school versus the big monsters? Or do you think that the class system is better?
I think it's definitely possible because it just depends on coaching. I think it's definitely possible for these small schools to beat the bigger schools. You just have to strategize right and put your game plan to full fruition and not try to make little mistakes as possible. Like Scott said, look at FAU in their tournament run. These small schools are not afraid of these big schools anymore. Look, like you've seen UMBC beat Virginia, and then Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue, Santa Clara beat Arizona, St. Peter's beat Kentucky. Like in March Madness, these small schools love the opportunity to face big schools. They're not scared. Whenever they go in, they're like, "Yeah, we're underdogs," but guess what? On paper, we're underdogs, but to us, we can beat anybody on any given night, any given week, and that's how you should look at it, whether you're a small school, a small college, or even like a smaller, weaker team in the NBA.
Well, let me add to what you're saying, because what you're making are some really, really good points. These smaller schools are on house money. Nobody expects them to do anything, right? So when you're on house,
for them.
Yeah, well, exactly. Okay, so let me ask you this question: what do you find the version of house money? How would you define what that term means?
I would say they're playing on. They're betting against themselves.
Well, it's everything to gain, nothing to lose if you're on house money, especially when you beat the big.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the versions for sure.
Yeah, I'm not trying to trick you. I'm just saying house
money.
No,
and I agree.
Everything you gain.
No, I agree 100%.
You think FAU is worried about who they won and lost to as they kept going through the tournament?
Nope, because they just knew that get ready for the next game, no matter who it is.
Exactly. That's my point. Thank you.
Well, my point I bring up with something like this is part of me wishes that we could, because I do watch Hoosiers. I've seen it like you a million times. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed that a lot, and I love the movie. But part of me wishes there was that one chance, because remember, to this day, 2023, a lot of these small towns, this is their one shot at, you know what I'm saying? One shot at, excuse me. This one chance at immortality. And then they're going to be electricians, or they're going to be construction people the rest of their lives, or do things in their town. You know, and to this day, that is there, and this is their one chance at a dream. So that would be awesome. But now, because of money, there are more class systems. You know, you got 1, 2, 3, 3A, 4, all that, 4A, 5A, that kind of deal like that. And the highest one means the smallest schools facing each other, the biggest schools facing each other. And it's like, at some point, as much as I'll talk capitalism and I love money, at some point you're taking away the dream. And it's like, But it's been gone about 15, 20 years, and it makes me wonder, could you bring that back? Could you bring it back to a small school? How well would it do? Because these athletes, like you say by itself, these athletes are unreal.
Well, remember one thing I should mention, though. What about little Manhattan College up in New York? When they had their little mini run there. Okay, man.
Yeah.
Nobody ever heard of them, right? I didn't know anything about them until they had a little bit of success, and all of a sudden, so yeah, regardless of how big or small the school is, it's out there. Anytime you have two teams that are between the lines, you know what? Forget about all the numbers and all that. It doesn't
I'll give you an example of this year. The college I worked at, Queens University Charlotte, transferred from D2 to D1. Our first game was against Marshall. I couldn't go because I was busy that night. We beat Marshall on our opening night. Did I think we were going to win? No, because we were just transferring to D1. But I knew our guys believed they would.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, and remember, athletes are everywhere now. Athletes are every whether big school or small school, big city, small city. Right now in my town, they're talking about this girl who's in 8th grade and she's already got like 5 colleges looking at her. She's like in 8th
look
grade.
At these guys who went to small schools. Larry Bird, CJ McCollum, Dan Lillard.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Well, Indiana State University. Nobody saw anything coming out of them until Larry Bird put them on the map, and they haven't been relevant since.
But they haven't been there since.
Right.
Yeah, they haven't been there since. It's like, and what was funny about that is, I forget his name, the coach, Bill
Hodges. Bill Hodges.
Bill Hodges.
Yeah.
Started his career 32 games over 500, ended his career 32 games over 500. He was 500 after for the rest of his career.
Shows you what a guy like Bird can do, right?
Isn't that the truth? Well, let's go on. We're at 26-minute mark. Let's go on to the next topic. I've enjoyed this. Let's see. Give us a second. Let's do this here real quick. Comes to high school ball. I believe the cities that lead the way are Chicago and New York City. Yeah, Illinois. I'll say Illinois is New York City, yes. Illinois and Indiana. That's the big thing too. It's like that's the rivalry for the longest time, We had this too. And we had those things right there. Now, let's see. All right. Now this is the next one here. Was LeBron James's impact on the game necessary? Now did an NBA need to be revolutionized? Now the reason I brought this up is because I did a Facebook question this week. And they were bringing up 6 people that revolutionized the game, and then they brought up, usual Michael Jordan. They brought up Kobe. Then they didn't bring up Wilt, which shows you that the time has gone by. You know what I'm saying? When we talked about that, they brought up like 6. Of course, LeBron James is like number 4. And so I asked the question: LeBron, what did he revolutionize? Because I was saying he didn't revolutionize the small forward. That was Bird. He didn't revolutionize business. That was Jordan. He didn't I was just asking what he revolutionized, and someone gave me a reminder that he revolutionized the building the super teams and the player movements and doing all that. So okay, Dom brought that up first actually to me, and I appreciate him saying that. And then others were reminding me. So I wanted to ask this now that we get this: was he knowing whether the impact of the game and where the game has gone by itself? Remember this: owners used to own players every bit. They would say, we have a 1-year contract, and then they'd say, we're going to pay you this much, and then you have these they did this all the way from the bygone era all the way through, and then until like 1993, and then you got free agency. Same with the 91 with football. Now, before the free agency like that, that's what you had, but now the players are getting their revenge on the. Would you say that first, Scott? That they're getting their revenge. It's an unfortunate part that they're getting their revenge on the owners from what they did in the past.
No, I don't view it that way. Number one, I love the question because you can look at it different ways. If he revolutionized super teams, then that's bad because this league is awful. I mean, you sit here and bring on these super teams, then in my opinion, you cheapen the accomplishment of that championship. Yeah, she'll have 4 or 5 rings. I get that. Number 2, he revolutionized how not to go ahead and pick your next town. well, the decision. Okay, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. How many titles did you deliver? You wanted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You only got 2. Okay. Number 3, okay, we all know he's a good all around basketball player. I still to this day think Jordan's 100 times better than he is, anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so what did he revel? I don't know. I mean, the only thing he did was he's the best player in this generation, but far from the best of all time. I mean, all he did was carry the torch from another area. So I don't really feel how he revolutionized. His Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the scoring record, only took 1 3-point shot. This guy hit a lot of them. So I'm not saying that that's an asterisk against him, but maybe a little bit of one that there is. So here's a guy that tried to be the general manager of a lot of teams, except Pat Riley said, "You're not doing it here." Okay. How many times has he tried to go out there and tell Cleveland what to do? How many times he tried to tell the Lakers what to do? So, nothing against LeBron James. He's a fellow Capricorn like me, so I got to at least like him because he's that. But, his day, I think, is 1 or 2 days behind mine in late December. We have to wait all year for our birthdays after Christmas and between New Year's. So, to me, his impact on the game is necessary because he carried the torch from one generation to another. As far as revolutionized things, he did a lot of things that were for all the wrong reasons.
Well, and the biggest thing about it is, we've had that conversation on NIL and pundits, NIL and with NCAA. I've always looked at, and I always look back to the past in that way because there were some pretty scummy owners of what they did to a lot of the players. And because the one thing that I'd always says, I still remember Moses Malone staying probably 8 to 10 years too long, and his knees were completely gone. But he had to go get another contract. He had to go get some more money, and he didn't. And it's like, this is an era now. The one thing we can say out of all this is an era now where so many of these players are they're making money off business deals. Like Junior Bridgman started that whole trend in the first place, even before Jordan. I mean, the Junior Bridgman that was on Milwaukee. But it's like, but very few ever thought about that. Now there's so many that are. But I mean, the biggest thing is, to me, how much of, and I'll ask you this, Will, how much of it is truly revenge? But then, in the other part of the question, that revenge has been around 30 years. How many don't remember that anymore, and this is all they know?
It is somewhat revenge, but I agree with what you said on your post. LeBron didn't revolutionize anything. Small forward, that wasn't him. Point forward wasn't him. Being the best of all time, not even close. It's Jordan. The only thing he's revolutionized is he's one of the best players of this generation, and his athleticism and style of play can be kind of an example for younger players on different levels of the game. But like I agree with Scott, he is not the greatest player of all time. He hasn't revolutionized anything besides um, building these super teams and trying to tell owners what to do. And don't get me wrong, he's a great businessman. But guess what? He wasn't the one who started that. Oh, I'm gonna make myself like the main picture, the main guy, the main focus, the face of the league. No, that was Jordan because I
Yeah,
know it was Junior Brigman, but what I remember was when Jordan, because you had the Like Mike commercials, you had the Air Jordan commercials. Like
right.
LeBron, you didn't start that. You weren't even close. I'm sorry. You were let's see how you were way too late. So no, I don't think LeBron has revolutionized anything.
And let's not forget one other important point here, okay? Remember when Magic Johnson played center when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was down? Here's a guy who, 6'9" point guard who revolutionized the position. A big guy can be a point guard. Need to go in the middle, Magic, and carried the Lakers on his back to beat the Sixers. So, yeah, I don't think he's revolutionized anything. And remember,
Nothing.
if it weren't for Magic and Bird, the NBA would be on tape delay, and all these guys would be making half the money. And now, how many games did he miss? The last couple of years.
I agree.
We could say Kawhi revolutionized the load management.
Right, but you know what? They're all doing it now. I mean, why do you think you had to go out there and negotiate a collective bargaining agreement that is really predicated on awards just to get them to play more games. I mean, this is a show.
That's a good question.
I mean, that might be something we can talk about later, but I'm just mentioning it now for the question, who would you say revolutionized, LeBron or Steph? You know what? I would go on a limb and say Steph, because at least the guy's a sharp, he's a heck of a shooter, more so than LeBron. So to answer
he brought the shooters, everybody, 7-3 guys shoot like that now.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm answering the question, LeBron or Steph. I would say Steph first.
Yeah.
And I agree. You know what? Even though you've had the Reggie Millers and the Ray Allen beforehand, I say Steph, because not a lot of players these days are going to the rim always and muscling in and trying to get that and one. What are kids prone to doing now? They don't just be like, "Oh, I'm going to drive in and get this hard layup in." No, most kids are like, "I want to learn a three-pointer today. I want to learn how to take a bunch of three-pointers."
Here's the thing, though.
Steph.
I look at it. I look at it this way. If you show high schoolers of now an old school game, like say the 70s or whatever, and like especially really good ball teams, and the game was like say 104-69, and it's like, and then there were like 14 blocks, like the 14 blocks in the game, 15 blocks, just absurd, just from the athlete. First thing that these kids would say right now is, well, why didn't they just go shoot througes? They didn't realize the three wasn't around until 79, but by itself. But this is first thing that they would say whatsoever, and to their point, they would have one. To their point, they would have one because it's what they know. But it's like when in certain cases, like, okay, we'll also say it the ones that faced Mark Eaton or Dikembe Mutombo and all that kind of stuff like that. They wouldn't have the league right now. Those guys wouldn't be in a league right now because they couldn't shoot. But there's not a lot of blocks. You don't see 15 blocks in a game because there's not a lot of driving in.
Right.
So there's that part. So you could say Steph did a lot of revolutionizing. Steph did a lot of revolution. Personally, to me, I think it's rough because I don't like seeing 7-3 guys at the underneath. Same point. I think the LeBron James's impact came with another version of business. And I am very glad for Bronny that he's got his dad watching his back, because there's a lot of players that don't have anybody watching their back. So I'm just saying, I'm glad for Bronny that he has that.
Right. No, I'm not disputing that at all. But the question is who revolutionized what was, I'm looking at the question, who revolutionizes more impact on the game? And I've told you on numerous counts, I don't really think he revolutionized it, and his impact as much as what a lot of people may think it is.
Yeah.
Let me see how he survives back in the 80s and 90s compared to what he's doing now.
Oh, no.
Well, the thing of the super team, we could almost say the super team was Red Auerbach's, because he built super team after super team after super team. But he built them through drafts. He built them through trades.
That's different. That's different. You can build super teams all day long with trades. Who's going to give you any problems doing that? I'm talking about a guy where everybody wants to play on the same team. And a lot of this started with the Olympics. Let's not forget the history where all these guys got to play together. Hey, I want to play with you one day. And we'll all figure it out one way, and boom. Now, Red Auerbach did super teams the right way. So did Jack McCloskey, Joe Dumars. And a lot of those guys did it the right way. You're going to go out there and make a trade and pair great players up. That's different. Trading is one thing. Free agency, the way he did it, the decision, let me tell you, he rethought that situation the next time and put his answers in the Players Tribune. So you can't compare super teams when they're built the old-fashioned way through the general manager versus free agent. That's a totally different conversation. It really is.
And it's starting. The biggest thing about it is the one thing with it is that the super team is starting to flail, because you got to remember, Milwaukee snuck up completely in that 2020. In the 2021, Milwaukee snuck right in and won, and they didn't have a super team. Not really.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad. I like this comment here. The decision was a money move. I blame ESPN probably more than LeBron. ESPN's not going to get any love from me no matter what anybody puts out there, and they're a sinking ship. That's all I'm going to say about that.
They are.
Right, that's true. Well, we are going to have one more topic, and then we're going to have a parting shot. So let's go to our final topic here. Seattle and Las Vegas, next NBA expansion city. Sin City versus the return of the Sonics. Now I want to ask this. They have this expansion team. Does this by itself? First thing I'm going to ask about. We can bring up Las Vegas all day long. You think we're going to see a Seattle versus Oklahoma City rivalry, or do you think Oklahoma City eventually goes?
I think I'll go real quick. I think OKC needs to go. I'm sorry, I get it. They love their team there, but dude, like when I heard that Seattle was originally going to Oklahoma City, I literally looked NBA straight in the face on TV. I was like, "You chose Oklahoma City, Oklahoma City, over a bunch of different other places. Oklahoma City." No, I'm sorry. You shouldn't even have the Seattle Supersonics like history. If they say, "Oh yeah, Sonic Thunder history is part of Sonic's history," not to me. Oklahoma City was so dumb and just idiotic because you got rid of iconic colors, an iconic name, and you moved a team that everyone loved to a place where like probably gets so many, I mean, keyword, so many less fans than they did in Seattle. So, yes, it was probably Stern's biggest mistake. I agree.
Okay, and Scott, let me ask this: Do you
Sure.
think that Do you think that the Seattle Oklahoma City was a David Stern mistake, or do you think there? What do you think the story was behind that?
Well, here's a lot more than you guys even realize, though. Seattle had 10, 20 years to get a new stadium, and they didn't do it. So don't forget that. And I remember seeing a game at the old Key Arena out there when I was in the Pacific Northwest, and I love Seattle, and I hope they get another team, and they deserve another team. And I agree, they should never have left. But the owner that bought the team obviously had business interest there. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no doubt. I believe the sooner you get Seattle in there, the better off you are. And now there is a new stadium there. No excuses. But the one thing people can't lose sight of with Oklahoma City is you have other smaller markets where they're the only game in town as well. And how many times have you had a smaller market where they're the only game in town? And I'll tell you why I can say this. I went to Sacramento and saw a couple of games there. Unbelievable place. And you have all the money yourself. Memphis is thriving under that as well. So just because you're a small, and look at Utah, they're doing it as well. So when you have a lot of only game in towns, there's less competition amongst the other sports for that entertainment dollar. So you want to say what it's a mistake, but remember, New Orleans was flooded, and Oklahoma City was out there. It was a good test case to see if they could support a team, and they did. So I don't want to really call it a David Stern mistake. Remember, nobody asked for Hurricane Katrina to come either, and where were the Pelicans going to play? So Oklahoma City reached out to them. But the sooner you get a team in Seattle, the better off you are. But that's not anybody's fault. It's all Seattle's fault because they should have had a stadium, and they were bickering and bickering. One owner after another tried to do it, and now they finally have one, and they're ready for another team. And I hope as soon as possible.
Well, here's the thing with Las Vegas now. Las Vegas has the Aces. Las Vegas is going to have an NBA team. Las Vegas is going to probably take Oakland. Las Vegas is take the Raiders. You think by itself the flash of Las Vegas is going to hurt a lot of small market teams, knowing the flash of where people can go now, where these players can go. Las Vegas is every bit of an entertainment capital. It's every bit of it. I mean, why? Here's the thing: why wouldn't James Harden go to Las Vegas knowing the strip joints?
Well, so I say no, and I'll tell you why. Vegas is going to be to a point where they're very saturated, is what they're going to end up being. And remember one thing, as much as Vegas, Milwaukee came close to moving there when they were having problems with their stadium until cooler heads prevailed. They ended up getting it. So no, I disagree with you totally. I really do. Vegas to me, well, they could support an NBA team, but they get the summer league every year anyway. So what's the difference? So I'm sure. So me personally, Vegas, everybody wants to go there. But as far as I'm concerned, I agree with George Eichhorn. St. Louis and Cincinnati could be very well. And I think St. Louis should have one. I don't know about Cincinnati, but I'd go St. Louis. But no, I'm not confident about Las Vegas. I really am not.
I love St. Louis as far as I love St. Louis as far as any professional team. That is, personally to me, I want to see an NFL team back there. It's like, I don't think I think they just get screwed time after time. I think they got phenomenal fans as far as sports fans. And considering how crime-ridden and how gross St. Louis has turned into, they need their sports, and they need their sports to win. And that's the whole thing before the city sinks in. And I want to see St. Louis do that because there's a history. I'm a Cubs and Bears fan forever, but there's a history with St. Louis. Considering I'm 2 hours from it,
Well, I'll even take it a step further. As far as the NHL is concerned, I think Kansas City should get another team from the old Kansas City Scouts back in the days, and they have a good facility ready and able to take them in. So I would definitely favor Kansas City for an NHL team.
I have a question for both of you.
Sure.
I want to hear Scott's opinion first, and then I'll let Jacob.
Okay.
Do you think the NBA would ever adopt another team in Canada?
No way.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't see that at all. Remember what happened with COVID-19? You have to worry about international, and Toronto really owns that team. So I personally don't think it really ever will.
I agree.
In fact, I'll tell you what, before I would put a team in Canada, this is a wild card for you guys. Ready? I would put one in Louisville, Kentucky, the old home of the Kentucky Colonels is what I would do.
I was thinking that. I'm like, man, they have great college basketball, but an NBA team, man.
Yeah, well, remember, Hubie Brown coached that team, and the Kentucky Colonels, I'm surprised they never were part of the merger, but that would probably be for another day. But I would love to see an NBA team in Louisville, Kentucky, and bring back the old Kentucky Colonels and see where this goes.
Hubie always made me laugh, and he's one of the top-notch announcers. I'm just going to say, and it's like, and that is correct. Mexico City, that could be easily because that's right at the border. But that's right at the border by itself. But no, I kind of laugh at that. I kind of laugh. Let's see. I kind of got thrown off. That's my fault. But one of the things about it is that here's the thing with Las Vegas. Now that I got thrown off, I'll just go back to the original point. Las Vegas, between the economic collapse of 2008 and between COVID, almost caved in on itself twice.
Right.
Sports are here and they're oversaturated because no matter what, Vegas is they're never going to cave in again. They're going to make sure, even if there would be another COVID, even if there would be another whatever, they're going to make sure it's going to be like Dubai with tourism. They're going to make darn sure they have another way of making money because they almost caved in twice.
Formula One's going there soon, and they're going to make a lot of money there.
Well, let me tell you this. The Vegas Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup in 6 years, but the expansion draft was set up much differently than it was in the past, where a lot of these teams like Seattle and Vegas could get better real quick because of the amount of players left protected and unprotected, so they can get much better players as well. So I congratulations to Las Vegas for going out there and winning a title in the NHL. But when you talk about the way Seattle and Vegas were constructed through the expansion draft, there were a lot better players for both of them, and they were able to build faster. And research will bear itself out.
And what do you think of Mexico City, Will, before we go to the final thing?
Mexico City, I can't see it happening for 10 plus years.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Will. I think Mexico City's a real reach. I really do. There's certain markets you have to get back into before you add them.
Because Mexico City, don't get me wrong, it would be cool to have a team down there, but you know what? You have to worry about player safety because you're going to another country because you never know. You could have, and I hate saying this scenario, you could have a Brittany Griner situation where someone gets detained, one of their players, and it could be like almost a year until you see them next. And they could barely do anything wrong. They break a law and they're like, yep, we're going to detain your player for X amount of time. Yeah, so there's a huge risk of going overseas.
Yeah, you make a great point there, Will. You really do. I don't know if it would go that far in terms of player detainment because Mexico doesn't want to have a situation where they're going to have a black eye over it because remember, if they ever look at expansion MLB to go down there. So I don't know if I would take it to that extreme, Will. But I think that there's a lot of other markets that would be more worthy of a team before I'd even resort to Mexico City.
I agree.
Yeah,
I know
true.
about Tijuana. I've been there.
Okay, absolutely. It's like, by the way, let's go to our final parting shots.
Sure.
We have 49-43. We're going to the parting shots here. And I'm just going to, this is not going to be a basketball one. I'll take the first one.
Right.
I'll take the first one here. And here's the thing. What we're hearing right now, and this is going to be a pundit deal, but what we're hearing right now are so many people, well, we could say media, and so many complaining about Florida and the idea of the black history. That, okay, supposedly, and this is the deal, supposedly the DeSantis did, even though DeSantis took away quote unquote black history, they don't have, no, it's not true. But here's the thing. Here's the deal with this. A lot of black Republicans created their new system. Now, they created a new curriculum over there for black history, which they don't agree with. So of course there's lying in the media. But I'm going to bring this part to you straight. Okay, I'm asking this to the left side now. We can agree or disagree of what they did and what they did in Florida with black history and what they did here. Let me ask this question to all of you. What did all the sexual education, all the things that were read inside of the school boards and all the disgusting books that were out there have to do with black education? What did it have to do with just regular education in general? See, this is the issue. This is the issue I have with something. You might be correct. They might be doing a watered down version of black history in Florida, and they probably are. But you're putting it all on yourselves. Every one of you. You just can't be normal. You can't be normal. Everything has to be in excess. And yes, I'm talking to Republicans too. Everything has to be in excess because you just did your own revenge by, okay, watering down black history. So now you're making them mad? Can we ever be normal? This is why I am supporting, back in my hometown, a school called Almus. It is called Classical Education. Basically, the kids get to touch everything, see everything, basically smell everything and look at everything, and they get to, if they're learning business, they get to create their own businesses. They get to do all that. That's education. It needs to be now anyway. It's an education without an indoctrination. And I'm for that. But I'm asking this to Florida right now. Can you ever, and I'm saying this to Texas, and I'm saying this to everybody else, who in New York City especially, can you learn to be normal just once so that we don't get this again?
My parting shot is I recently went back to my old high school and saw that they're doing changes to it for the better. They're gonna be offering different stuff. They just added a culinary program, and it kind of made me think I wish I had that in school because personally, I think culinary is a great life skill because you get to learn how to make food, and it teaches you different things like how to cook different meals with different ingredients. Of course, there's going to be still math, history, science, English, Spanish. So it's good to see when schools offer different life skills like wood shop or culinary or just like out of the ordinary stuff and giving these kids real life skills.
All right, my parting shot has a lot to do with James Harden. Boy, I heard his name earlier in this show, didn't I? Guess what, James? Daryl Morey's not going to give you away, period. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, you seem to find a way to orchestrate your exit out of everywhere, and that's fine. But, James, if you think they're going to give you away, no chance. I couldn't care less if you sit out the whole season and lose a lot of money because you'll never win a championship anyway. So who the heck cares? But I try to look at a lot of players I dislike in the NBA. James Harden is right at the top of my list. He's the most selfish individual I've ever seen, and he's been paid very well to underachieve at key moments. So James, as a lot of people would say, nobody cares what you think. Okay, Christmas is still in December, not way before then. Good luck, and I hope you lose a lot of money because you deserve it. Couldn't happen to a better idiotic person that would never survive. And in the day when basketball was really good, back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Good riddance, James.
Well, we had a great show tonight, and I was really enjoying it. We at the 55-minute mark. We're going to have a real good time on the Stream TV tonight. We had a really good one, and I enjoyed all of these. And I appreciate you, Will. I appreciate you, Scott. And I appreciated every little bit detail. And what I just want you to know how much I appreciate you guys, because you do study this game. And maybe my parting shots are a little political at some points. I appreciate you guys at least listening. It's like, I know a lot of you don't want to get into it, but the reason I did mine tonight is because all I'm trying to do with something like Basketbros, something like Pundit, something like anything else, as you know this, Scott, it's objectivity. We're not seeing enough of it in our media. Right. And it's like, and the reason I brought that part up is they're all going after Florida like crazy right now over the watering down the black education. They're lying about it. But I was asking, what did you have to do with something like this? Can we, for once in our life, be normal? That's all I was asking.
Well, I'll say everybody goes after Florida, so don't feel too bad. So we're used to it down here. And, when I hear parting shots like yours, and a lot of people better go on record. When I say no comment, for me, that's a short answer. And you don't get many short answers.
Understood. For Jacob Chris of the Pundits Pundit, Will Vogel, Scott Morgenroth, Motor City Mad Mouth, you guys all have a great night and see you next Sunday.